Did you ever think why do so many people feel lost, isolated, lonely, and depressed today? The advances in the standard of living worldwide presumably was expected to bring more happiness and overall health to populations, but it is evident that not everyone managed to get a part of the mental health benefits that technology and comfort can grant. Not only is this part of the population unable to benefit mentally from our modern social paradigm, but they actually experience the reverse effect, namely worsening of mental wellness, increased anxiety and stress due to technology use and the social configuration which allows not for genuine connection. Past generations were different in shaping one's sense of purpose, at least because the offline, less stimulating activities were inevitable and all too common. They may not have been so effective in terms of practicality, but they were certainly beneficial and safe for the human psyche. This is not to say that the grass our ancestors walked on was perfectly more green than it is in the present, but at least in this one regard they certainly had an advantage. The emotions that entwine the present crisis are discouragement, uncertainty, gloomy attitude, apathy, insecurity, sadness, depressive rumination, unsatisfaction, fleeting stimulation, and alike. We must understand where they are rooted before we can think out a way of dealing with them. Social media fuels feelings of inadequacy mainly through the unconscious sowing of a feeling of not keeping up. The world events and other people appear to advance so fast that the user is always struggling to stay on the edge of being left behind, unloved and unadmired. We compare ourselves so much to others because of the internalized judging mechanism stemming from the hustle culture. The more we are anxious about staying productive and competitive, the less actually productive, creative and strong we end up. For gaining a competitive advantage, a clear and calm mind is needed instead, as if it is filled with the voice of the goddess Athene that inspired the most quick-witted heroes of antiquity, like Odysseus. Comparing ourselves to others may have always been the case, as we know the Greeks especially loved the competitive games, where all that matters was to beat the opponents, not necessarily perform the highest record. But the excessive anxiety and isolation from actual results was not always in place, as it is today due to the ease of digital consumerism. The achievement obsession of the present times distorts our self-worth because it is artificial and too altered with elusive satisfaction. Porn, social media, posting, and gaming feel more attractive than sex, earning real reputation, and displaying leading skills because they exploit the natural impulses so deeply engraved in the physiology of our brains. The achievement insecurity is especially true for young males, while for females, there is a stressing imperative of always remaining pleasing and displaying an attractive appearance. But even if a person is immersed in the struggle for resources and attention, they may still burn out and feel emptied, feel as if their very identity is absent. The topic of burnout was explored in another letter, which you may find here. To have an identity means to know who you are and why you are as such. It means to have an unalienable connection to some group, line, cause, or other means of identification, to something that makes a separate rose unique in this world, despite billions of other roses around. Conversely, the crisis of identity means confusion of identity. If you can't be anything, you are nothing. The lack of such firm ground leads to confusion and misery, as the person gradually gets objectified and their worth erased in mundane matters. Poverty or financial stress significantly dictates the crucial life-affecting decisions of young people. The consequences of it may be a deep depression and unsatisfying feeling about one's life, the culmination of which are suicidal thoughts or attempts. The youth is especially vulnerable to depression as their expectations from themselves are the highest, and thus almost every young person experiences the so-called quarter-life crisis while in their 20s, and about a third get diagnosed with depression. What causes a quarter-life crisis? Work was the word most strongly associated with it. Perhaps they have a greater need for well-being in the workplace. Generation Z and millennials can be frustrated by work that injects intense levels of stress into their daily lives. They might feel trapped in jobs that tax their health or offer little professional advancement. A large percentage struggle to even find work. Young people today strongly desire financial independence while simultaneously fearing they will never be able to achieve it. This is not a new cultural problem, for it always existed in different forms. Yet it is beyond doubt that young people of contemporary society experience a unique pressure. This all means that the potential solutions can also be unique and never seen before. for every historical context is always double or even more than double-edged sword. The first thing we can do is to realize, discover and explore our uniqueness, come to terms with it, and then leverage it. How can someone begin to embrace their uniqueness instead of suppressing it? By either disconnecting digitally or connecting physically, or both. Other people, if they are wise, trusted and admired by you, may certainly help you to put into action the maxim inscribed on the entrance of Apollo's temple, know thyself. But digital content will not help it. It can be a tool, but it won't substitute the work that must be done. This work can only be done by a living personality over itself. What you watch or read can serve as guidance, but it can also be a confusing noise that nurtures brain fog. We talked about it in the previous letter, if you want to learn more. This work is to deeply and systematically meditate on your priorities, your values, beliefs, needs, strategic goals, and the general course you want to take. Then come the practical strategies to help with self-acceptance. Do some journaling, be free and bold with your thoughts, analyze and observe the patterns in your perception and behavior. Strive to think out what will better align with what you prefer. Get a good sleep and a good deal of time spent offline, on walks or simply thinking freely with no pressure. I must say that there are not so many universal stratagems to shape your perfect life, but you can be certain that you will craft more of these on your own as you keep advancing and searching in this direction. Steady, slowly, but keeping to advance. One vector to work on is to build yourself a negativity shield. This can be done gradually, by cultivating a joyful attitude and worldview, and getting a good sleep prior to it. Also, it would be helpful to practice what the French call mitfreud, shared joy. Learn to genuinely be happy for others instead of being consumed by envy. Both your own joy and others' joy works to make you feel better. Then you certainly want to cultivate calmness and focus. If you barely read anything on the subject, you can start with the book How to Calm Your Mind by Chris Bailey, or any similar book. You can also check the further reading section in the commentary. Philosophy, history, psychology, and culturology can offer valuable insights into overcoming this feeling of being lost. Study human nature, study who you are, where you came from. Study what the most prominent minds of mankind had to offer over centuries of intellectual and aesthetic inquiries. Study it and make conclusions. Get inspired and then inspire others. And so the core mindset shifts that will help you feel more grounded and purposeful are: perceiving each encountered person as a natural phenomenon, world to explore and react accordingly. View the world as a fascinating place of many possibilities, and yourself as a free drop in this vast and beautiful ocean that you can contribute to. Never overreact or over-ruminate about the short-term fluctuations. Focus on the long-term instead. Whether you're better than 5 years ago matters more than 5 weeks ago. Whether you have a good chance to be in a better position 5 years from now matters more than 5 months from now. Learn what you love and do what you love. Find a way to fill your days with what is important. Genuinely connect to at least one person or animal. Learn to love them and do everything for their well-being. This will flow back at you and fill you with satisfaction and energy to build something meaningful further. One thing you can do right now to start finding clarity is to look strategically at your life's project. Understand that it is never late to stop, think and strategize your further course. Find a quiet and solitary space to devote your time to some reflection. Take your time and think out what matters to you, how you can attain that, what steps and resources are needed. These are 3 basic questions to ask in order to find meaning. You will almost certainly face some external pressure through which you should still carve your own path. This is totally normal. There is even an external beauty in it. As Nietzsche said, happiness is a sense of overcoming resistance. The ultimate insight that we can take away and put into practice from all that was being said is, healthy life and mentality is absolutely real. It only takes some work, and this work can be pleasant. Farewell for now. I wish you to be mindful, to be strong, and to be free.